Nobody signs up for the rat race. That's what makes it so effective. You don't decide one day to trade your time for money indefinitely in exchange for a lifestyle you'll enjoy someday. When conditions are finally right, it happens incrementally. A job that pays better than the last one, a car payment that makes sense given your new salary, an apartment upgrade that feels earned, or a promotion that requires more hours but comes with a title that justifies them. And one day you look up and you realize that every income increase has been immediately absorbed by an equivalent expense increase that you are working harder than you ever planned to, and that that the finish line is somewhere and somehow no closer than it was 5 years ago. And that moment of recognizing is the beginning of something. And here's what to do with it. The rat race is not about income. The most persistent misconception about escaping the rat race is that it's just an income problem. That if you just made more money, the trap would open. This is demonstrably false, and the evidence is everywhere. People making $50,000 per year are trapped in it, and so are people making $500,000 a year. The mechanics of the trap don't change with the salary; they scale with it. The rat race is a relationship between income and lifestyle, specifically the tendency for lifestyle expenses to expand to consume whatever income is available. A phenomenon economists call lifestyle inflation or consumption smoothing. Every raise gets spent, every bonus it gets absorbed, and every windfall creates a new normal that requires the next windfall to maintain. And the treadmill doesn't slow down when you earn more, it speeds up to match. And this means the escape is not an income event. It is not a promotion away or a business idea away or a lucky investment away. It's a mindset shift, a deliberate decision to break the automatic relationship between earning more and spending more. And that happens in the mind before it shows up in the bank account. And that shift is available at any income level, which is both the most empowering and the most uncomfortable truth in the personal finance. And what you're actually trading, the rat race runs on a currency, and most people never consciously account for the time, not the money. Time. The money is just a medium of exchange through which time gets consumed. And when you work 45 hours a week at a job you'd leave if you could, you're trading 45 hours of your life per week for a paycheck, not per month and not per week. And that's roughly 2,300 hours per year over a 40-year career. That's $92,000, 92,000 hours. More than 10 years of continuously wait time spent doing something you wouldn't choose freely in exchange for money that funds a lifestyle that requires you to keep going doing it. And that accountability, it lands differently when you do it explicitly. And most people carry a vague sense that they're trading time for money without ever calculating the actual exchange rate or asking whether the terms are acceptable. And the first step out of the rat race mindset is making the trade conscious. How many hours of your life does your car payment cost you per month? How many hours does your housing cost and your subscriptions, your debt payments? When you denominate your expenses in time rather than dollars, the decisions look differently. And some of the things that seem like modest expenses reveal themselves as significant claims on your life's finite resources. In the lifestyle inflation trap in detail, I'm going to give it to you. The lifestyle inflation is so automatic and so socially reinforced that most people don't experience it as a choice. The raise comes, the slightly nice apartment feels appropriate given the new salary. The newer car makes sense now that you can afford the payment. The dining habits that felt like a treat on the old income become the baseline on the new one. And none of these decisions feel like, escalations. They feel like arriving at the level you were always supposed to be at. And this is the trap most elegant feature. It doesn't feel like a trap, it feels like progress. And the mechanism that keeps it invisible is comparison from your spending benchmark against people around you, your colleagues, your neighbors, your social circle. And as your income rises, you tend to spend more time with people at equivalent income levels. Worse, whose spending validates and normalizes yours. The person you know making 45,000 and the person making 150,000 can both feel financially squeezed if their spending tracks their peers groups. And the feeling of barely getting by is not a function of income level. It is a function of the income between income and expenditures. And that gap can be zero at any point on the income scale. Breaking the lifestyle inflation cycle requires two things happening simultaneously, though. First, a decision to bank a meaningful percentage of every income increase before it becomes available to spend. Automating savings from every raise before the lifestyle has to expand into the new income. And second, a conscious decoupling of identity from expenditures, the recognition that things you buy are not the measure of your worth or your success, and that the car you drive does not communicate what you think it communicates to people you think it impresses. And here's what escape actually looks like. The phrase escaping the rat race, it evokes a dramatic exit, quitting the job, moving to a farm, building a passive income empire. For some people, it looks like that. For most people, the real escape is quieter and available much sooner than the dramatic version. The practical definition of escaping the rat race is building enough financial runaway that work actually becomes a choice rather than a requirement. Not necessarily retiring at 40 or never working again, but reaching the point where you could stop working for 6 months or a year or indefinitely and your life doesn't immediately collapse. And where you're not working because you have no other option, but because you want to, or because the work itself has meaning, or because you've chosen it for a position of security rather than necessity. And that threshold is achievable for most people at most income levels if the gap between income and expenditures is managed deliberately. And here's the fire movement too. The financial independence, retire early, has done useful work calculating what this actually requires. The general principle: if your annual expenditures are $40,000 and you have $1 million invested in diversified assets, generating a 4% annual return, your investments cover your expenses indefinitely. And the number that represents financial independence is roughly 25 times your annual expenses. That number is the target, and the gap between where you are and where the number is, it defines the timeline, not the possibility. The mindset shifts that make it possible to escaping the rat race is 40% financial mechanism and 60% the way you think about money, time, work, and enough. The mechanics are teachable in an afternoon, and the mindset is a longer project. But these are the specific shifts that matter the most, from earning to building. The rat race mindset is focused on income, and the escape mindset is focused on assets, things that generate income rather than require your time to generate income. Every dollar saved and invested in a like is a small piece of the infrastructure that works while you sleep. The shift from spending earnings to building assets is the single most consequential change in thinking available to someone trying to exit the cycle. And from more to enough. Consumer culture is built on the systematic elimination of enough, the constant suggestion that what you have is insufficient and what you need is just slightly more than what you currently possess. The escape from this requires developing an explicit, personal, and deliberate definition of enough. What level of material and comfort genuinely satisfies you? Independence of what available and what others have, or what advertising suggests you should want. People who have defined enough have a destination. People who haven't are on a treadmill that has no finish line by design. And from some days to now, rat race deter living. It defers it. It promises that when the mortgage is paid, when the kids are through college, when the retirement account hits the right number, then the real life begins. The mindset recognizes that life is not a rehearsal being run in preparation for the main event. The time you have is the time you have. Building financial freedom is not about postponing living. It's about building the conditions under which living on your own terms is possible sooner rather than later, and enjoying the process of building while you do it. Here's the first move. The rat race continues for most people, not because they can't see it, but because the first move out of it is uncomfortable. It requires spending less than you could, saving more than feels necessary, and resisting social pressure to consume at the level your income technically permits. And that discomfort is the price of admission to a different relationship with time and money. And it's a one-time price paid once in the decision, and then progressively less as the new habits become the new normal. And the financial runaway builds into something that changes what feels possible. You don't escape the rat race by running faster. You escape it by just deciding to stop, running and building something that runs for you instead. Start that build today, not next raise, today. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and comment below. And if you really love me, feel free to buy me a coffee. It's down in the description and on this page's main front page. Thanks for watching. And if you want, check out this video to the right. It could also help you on your financial journey to becoming a millionaire because we all want to, right? Thanks for watching.